One of the biggest things with leadership is you have to have the right people on the right bus in the right seat on the bus. And if that happens, you're pulling one rope in the same direction. If that happens, that bus is going to go fast. That bus is going to be efficient.
Expanding possibilities, the mindset zone.
I'm your host, Anna Melikian. I'm here to support you increase your impact while preventing burnout. The Mindset Zone is a place to pause, increase your self-awareness, and embrace the experimentation mindset. Find more resources, including information about the Mindset Zone book and audiobook at mindset.zone. Yes, instead of .com is .zone. So we are in the middle of the AI disruption, and all business from law firms, CPA firms, and other professional services are facing massive pressure. So today I bring to the Mindset Zone Rutherford Pascal to speak about these topics, mainly around the question, how do we stay relevant and keep our best people? Because he has a great background in working in corporations, and he has developed a great system that he has a book about called the PID System. So welcome to the Mindset Zone.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yes, and Rutherford, you have been promoted when you were in the corporation world 8 times, what is quite an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
How did you do, or what you did differently that made that be possible?
It's a good question. It's a question that I've been asked a lot, especially the last couple of years at the end. And it's actually why I wrote the book. So when people started asking me that question, I started to think about what exactly I did in those and how I got promoted. And the thing I'll tell you is I got promoted early on because I cared, I think, and cared about the customer solely. So I was a field rep calling on physicians. And my only concern was how do I add value to the office and the physician? Every single time I went in there, I wanted to add value. As a matter of fact, and I told the doctors the first time I called with them, I met with them, I said, if I don't add value when I walk into your office, please kick me out and never let me back in. It was that important to me that I was not wasting their time. And when I went on and I got promoted, it was about adding value to the team, the 10 people that report to me, my colleagues, these 6, 7, or 8 people who were beside me. And when I got promoted to upper levels, it was all about adding value to the company and the field. So it was always, how do I add value? That was the centering thing for me.
And I love this. I start our conversation referring the AI disruption. And because this is going to change the landscape in the business world, and we are focusing this conversation on service-based businesses, professional firms, because it's one area that both of us know so well, and adding value for a service-based business is for any business always is important. For a service-based business is the bread and butter. And in the age of AI, when everybody is rushing just to do more, more, more with less and save money, automate this, automate that, sometimes we can forget that.
Mhm.
So it's really important, that reminder.
Yeah, it's critical that we understand that it's all about the customer. If you look at the firms that perform very well, they grow on a consistent basis. They think all they think about is the customer. I shouldn't say all they think about. They majority think about it. A company like Amazon, I'm not sure if you know what Amazon does in their meetings. I don't know if you know this, but during their meetings, they have an empty chair in their meetings, and that empty chair signifies the customer. So when they're thinking about it, they're okay, what would the customer think? And if you always in that mindset of how would the ultimate person, how would my customer, so sometimes when I was a second line leader, my customer was the first line leader. When I was a first line leader, my customer was my 10 reps, right? So it's how do I always get into the mind of the customer so I can treat them better? That creates differentiation, that creates synergy.
I love that. And I always kid when I speak about AI, as long as still people buying at the end, we still have to take care of the people and the human factor. When robots starts to buying for themselves, then the dynamic can be different. But for now, we still have as the customer people. So we cannot forget that we are dealing with humans, and humans are still very part of all the layers of this conversation. And so now let's transition because so you were promoted 8 times and then you now what you do is consulting companies to help them really to differentiate themselves. But you developed this system of the PID
Mhm.
as a way to encapsulate your system. So tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's gets back to the things that I did before, how I was successful and how I realized it was and you would know this, right? So you remember the DOS operating system?
Yes, I do.
I-
MS-DOS. Yep.
MS-DOS operating system, and now in Windows and all that. So everybody has their own operating system. Everybody really has I shouldn't say it. Everybody should have an operating system where they know exactly what to do as bright lines. So this operating system that I'm talking about is preparation, intentionality, and differentiation. And those three things are the three things that help everybody grow. Everybody's been promoted, grow their career, made a difference with a product. Every single thing that we see you have in your room, you have on your ear, you're speaking to a mic, is about PID, is about preparation, there's intentionality, and the differentiation. You bought some of those things because of the differentiation of those products. So with AI, you still have to be differentiated,
Yes.
right? You still have to be intentional and you have to prepare, which is really about engineering, how those questions are asked and what kinds of answers you get from that. There's an intentionality that comes from that. And because of the intentionality and the preparation, you're going to get a different answer than somebody else who puts a different prompt in.
And that I think you really nail something that is so important and ends in the differentiation because the reality that how I'm seeing most people using these tools, these AI bots like ChatGPT, is to create content, a lot of emphasis in creating content. And you can elevate if you were just below the average content. Now, with these tools, you can produce average to good content. The problem is that everybody else in their cousin are producing average and above average content. And the only way that you really are going to differentiate yourself is that instead of just focusing doing more, you focus in go deeper and doing better to differentiate because the noise is going to be more noisy. So differentiation is going to be more important than ever. And your system of being intentional and be prepared is what you need to create the differentiation.
Yeah, if you think about what I said before, what the value and the customer, yeah, you have to, in order to use AI to increase value of your services, that's ideal. If you can figure out how to use AI to grow the value and the customer sees the value, they're going to buy your product, your service more often than anybody else. They're going to choose you versus somebody else because you're adding more value. And you can do that. AI helps you do that. AI is unbelievable for helping you do that. But you'd still have to prepare the questions very intentionally. The first time I ever saw somebody use AI, I was amazed, not at the output, but at the questions that they use to get the output. I was like, oh my, that's a great question. Oh, that's a good thing. So you start seeing how that brain thinks. And so there's always going to be differences in output because of the input. And so that's what AI is going to do for services, is just continue to help people continue to add value for the ultimate customers. From a service perspective, it's going to be huge. You're correct. The- because because everybody can use it and it's basically free, Anna.
Yeah.
It's for now. It's basically free and everybody's got has availability to it. You got to be better at it. You have to be better.
That is exactly the issue, is that few people and few companies are really leveraging the true advantage of using their know-how, their experience to be intentional in the way that they are asking the questions with specific strategy to prepare themselves to be able to leverage these technologies in many different ways. Because the great thing that I love about your system is that, yes, we can think about how can we get prepared in order to leverage this new wave of technology, what is our intention behind it, and how can we differentiate in the marketplace, of course. But that kind of philosophy and system that you have applies for everything, from the implementation and leverage of AI to retention in a company of the best talent.
Yes, yes, that is absolutely correct. The one thing that somebody at when I first started talking about it, somebody asked, "This is just for new companies, new people early in their career." I said, "No, the preparation, intentionality, differentiation is for every person and because everybody uses it." So the example that I will give you is when a CEO is leaving the organization, retiring, and he or she is thinking about their successor. They're using preparation, intentionality, and differentiation as to pick who their successor is. They'll never use those words, or probably won't use some of those words, but that's what's going on in their mind. They're thinking about they're going to succeed me because I'm picking this person because their intentionality, they're different this way, they do this. And in the next 10, 5, 10, 15 years, this person's differentiation is going to make us continue to be a going concern. But yeah, it's enormous. It's enormous.
And I think in the times that we are living, that, oh, maybe we can replace people with AI agents and creating automations, and all those things are going to be dynamics, but we have to retain the best people, because that is what I believe that is going to be the differentiation. Yes, we have to, as a group and as a team, help the best people to learn about how to use these tools, but then also to think different on how can we reinvent the game to differentiate ourselves.
Yeah, so retention is a big deal, right? And I think that comes from not thinking the tool is evil, but thinking the tool is magical or gold. I was talking at an association a few weeks ago, and the speaker talked about being in two separate rooms. In one room, they thought that this AI is going to take my job. It's going to take, I'm afraid of it. And the other room was talking about how we're going to dominate with AI. And it's that mentality, Anna, that people need to have, is to use it as a tool to dominate. And you want to lean into your best people with this tool to help retain them. If you eschew this growth of AI, you're going to lose your best people because other companies are going to come at them with different packages and different situations, and they're going to be like, "Oh, I don't have to do that. Somebody else does this." Or I could. You love every single thing I do with AI to help me grow. You'll help me because we want to make stuff more efficient. We want to make stuff more effective. If AI can help us be more efficient and effective, we can do more work and we could do better work. If we do more and better work, we have our revenue is higher. So it's really important.
That will happen or is going to happen if we are intentional. That is
Yes.
why I love your system or your frame of reference,
Yeah.
because it's so, okay, we want to differentiate. We know that is what is important in terms of marketplace to survive and to thrive.
Mhm.
AI can help us on that if we do it right, by
Right.
keeping the right people and by being intentional in the way that we use it. Otherwise, we just end up with what I like to call the productivity paradox. Oh, now we can do in 6 days what was possible to do in 6 weeks. Wonderful. But what are we doing with the extra time? Just cramming in more stuff? Just demanding more of our people and burning them even more? Or we are using these strategically to be able to have the time to be more intentional and to create the differentiation and to prepare our people well.
Yeah. You know what's funny about what you just said? I was laughing because when computers first came out, this thing with computers, it was gonna take so much time away from us. We're gonna increase our downtime. And now we have 400 emails a day, right? So if we are not intentional about how we use the tool, if we don't use it for its best and greatest purpose within our systems, within our company, it is just going to be something else that takes up too much time. But if we use it, like you mentioned, to its best and greatest use, we will not only save time, we will have much, much better output in whatever we do.
And that is why when I speak about this topic, really my message is the best way to tap into the AI potential is to first tap into our human potential.
Well said.
And if we forget this, we forget how to say our differentiation and what we can really bring to the table. Because this is our opportunity to reinvent the game and to really create a future of work that allow us to prosper, allow us to thrive, and to take care of our people.
Yeah, it's funny because I think you've heard me talk about the zone of genius, right?
Yes.
That each of us have, right? Each of us have this. And let me try to explain. People, certain things we're really good at, we're gifted with, maybe we're analytical, maybe we have attention to detail, maybe we have this, right? But so your zone of genius from a work perspective is the things you do that when you're doing it, time goes away. You're loving it. You're doing such great work. It's people from an AI perspective who can build a bot to do this in 15 minutes. And they're like, oh yeah, so you say something complicated and they go, now I can build a bot 15 minutes, and they do it over and over again and they love it. They're in such joy. It's their zone of genius. Now, here's the thing, Anna. This is really important. I'm analytical, but if you told me to look at a spreadsheet all day, it'd be terrible. I would not be happy. It's really doing the things that you're good at, but you're also makes you happy.
And gives
It's
you energy,
yes,
energize you, and you feel that you can, is that flow that we speak in high performance,
yes,
that we are in that flow state. And if
yes,
we help people to learn to know themselves, to grow self-development that allows them to be as long as possible in their zone of genius and
yes.
collaborating with other people, then is when magic starts to happen.
Magic's gonna happen. Absolutely. When you're in that flow state, as you said, and you're doing it and you're finding a tool that's even gonna help you flow better. By the way, that it's gonna be 7 o'clock at night. You're like, oh my God, I forgot dinner. Oh, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I will argue that there is another element, how do you say, to put all this mix together to work, that the leaders, the managers and leaders, they have to know their people enough and their zones of genius to make the right combination and collaboration for everybody to be working in the same direction. Otherwise, you can have incredible people, but pulling in different directions, and the results is not good.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things with leadership is you have to have the right people on the right bus in the right seat on the bus. And if that happens, you're pulling one rope in the same direction. If that happens, that bus is going to go fast. That bus is going to be efficient. And you're going to get there. Everybody in that is going to be joyful because they're doing their greatest work. They're doing the things that they love. Think about the culture with a company like that, which everybody's in the right seat and everybody's pulling the rope in the right direction.
So how can leaders prepare applying your framework? How can a leader or somebody in organization that has some decision power can make this of the preparation to intentionally do this, the differentiation of bringing the right people to the right seats on the bus?
So the number one thing that leaders have to do is listen. So you ask questions. You got it. So we talked about retaining people, and it's really retaining our top people, retaining our top people. So we have to have conversations about the joy that they have, find out what part of the job they enjoy. So you got to ask those questions. You got to be intentional about the questions you ask. And then you can put together, when you get everybody's joy and love for what they do, now you can figure out, he's happy here, but from what my conversations have been with him over the last 6 weeks, I think he'd be even better here. Let me propose it. And I talked to this young lady, and she's not really happy here, but having a conversation, she would be thrilled if I. So it's having those intentional conversations to find out where their joy is, where their genius is, and you probably have I would say probably 60 or 70% knowing it yourself if you have a conversation with them, but asking them those questions will solidify that. And that now you can adjust where they are on the bus in your organizational chart so they can be happy and you can have the greatest growth possible.
So, because you have done that in your career, that is how you were
Yes.
so successful, and now you help leaders
Yes.
to do that. That
Yep.
is one of the ways that you work with the organization, is helping them in this process.
Yes, that's exactly right. I talk to them about just having great conversations. If we don't listen, so when I talk about listening, there's three ways to listen. I call it aggressive listening. So people call it active listening. I think you have to be aggressive because it's you have to really concentrate on somebody and to find out the most and get the most and best out of them. So the listening. So I want people to listen to the marketplace, the overall marketplace. So you listen. So you read magazines or other market. That's a marketplace. You listen to the organization where they think they're going, right? Then you listen to the boots on the ground, the people who are the closest to the customer, right? You listen to that. The fourth thing is listen to the customer. When you triangulate all four of those things, you're going to make great decisions. You're not going to make a bad decision because you're not listening to one thing. People make bad decisions because they focus on one of those things or maybe two, but they leave one or the other three out, and they don't understand everything. When you triangulate all four, you're not going to make a bad decision.
So you are describing the right preparation that
Yes.
allows them to be intentional and to differentiate themselves.
That's exactly correct. By the way, because nobody does that. There's a few CEOs that they have. When a CEO comes into an organization, a new organization, they do a good one does. They do a listening tour.
Yeah.
They go out to manufacturing, they go out and they listen. They don't say anything, or they say little, they listen. But after that listening tour, how many of those same CEOs visit the manufacturing site 6 months later, a year later? The great ones do. The mediocre ones, after that listening tour, They listen to the people who run it at board meetings and meetings, but they don't go out. So if you go out and you listen to you have unfiltered discussions with no ramifications, no negative ramifications from what you say. If you tell somebody this isn't working the way you think it is, you're going to make such good decisions. You're going to be in a much better place. So that's what you do.
I love that. And I think it's a great reminder that everybody should be doing now when they are trying to implement AI to take their business to the next level.
That is correct.
So where people can learn more about you?
I have a strange name. So you can, if you go on LinkedIn, Rutherford Pascal, I'm the only one on LinkedIn. My book is also on Amazon. Same thing. You just put my name in, or PID System, you'll find it. And my website is glasswallsleadership.com.
Yep. So I will make sure to put those in the show notes. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me on, and it was fantastic.
Expanding possibilities, the mindset zone.
If you can think of a person who will find this episode helpful, please share it. Spreading the word about the Mindset Zone podcast is very powerful. For extra resources, including information about the book and audiobook, Mindset Zone, Actualize Your Human Potential, go to mindset.zone. Yes, instead of .com is .zone. As always, I'm so grateful that you are here. Expand what's possible for you, for the ones around you, for the world.